Welcome to NTD News. I'm Kevin Hogan. Here are today's top stories. Congress certifies U.S. Electoral College votes for Biden, but President Trump says he is still fighting to make America great again. We have updates on a woman who is dead after being shot in the Capitol building yesterday. Trump attorney Jenna Ellis has stated that she is deeply disappointed Vice President Mike Pence did not reject disputed electoral votes. President-elect Joe Biden names his pick for Attorney General. The current Senate Judiciary Chairman has already expressed support for the selection. Congress certified U.S. Electoral College votes early this morning for Joe Biden. President Trump vows to continue fighting to better America. He also promises an orderly transition on January 20th, but does not mention Biden's name.
President Trump promises an orderly transition on January 20th. He says he still disagrees with the outcome of the election and that the facts are on his side. In a statement, he wrote, "I have always said we would continue our fight to ensure that only legal votes were counted. While this represents the end of the greatest first term in presidential history, it's only the beginning of our fight to make America great again." Congress certified Biden as president-elect around 3:45 a.m. During a massive rally near the U.S. Capitol on Wednesday morning, President Trump accused Democrats of stealing the election and the fake news media of supporting them. He said he would never give up. He said, quote, "We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there is theft involved." The Electoral College vote tally put Biden at 306 and President Trump at 232. The joint session of Congress was fraught with disagreement, uncertainty, and even chaos. While lawmakers were debating whether to reject votes for a state with contested election results, a group of rioters stormed the building. The civil unrest forced both houses of Congress to suspend their sessions, causing lawmakers to shelter in place, delaying the session for several hours. Lawmakers resumed the electoral vote count process around 8 p.m. Lawmakers from both houses then used their time to talk on the House and Senate floor to condemn the violence, rather than debate over election irregularities and allegations of fraud. The contested state under debate was Arizona. It was the first state to receive an objection raised by Republican Congressman Paul Gosar. The objection prompted a round of applause and standing ovation from a large group of Republican lawmakers. Pennsylvania also received an objection, but both chambers ultimately voted to reject the challenges for both states.
Mr. President, sadly but resolutely, I object to the electoral votes of my beloved Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Some lawmakers who had said they would uphold objections later changed their position after the breach of the building. This included Senator Kelly Loeffler, who was the key senator leading the objection in Georgia.
Senator Ron Johnson says states need to investigate election irregularities and establish barriers to elections. In a press release, he says the current election debate should serve as a wake-up call to state legislatures. He writes that states need to recognize the public's concerns and take control in order to have fair elections. Johnson noted that millions of Americans are worried that the last election was full of fraud and called such worries legitimate. Johnson chairs the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee. He held the only federal hearing on irregularities in the 2020 election. Johnson had committed to objecting to Biden electoral votes if Congress didn't establish a commission to examine election irregularities. Congress did not do so, but Johnson did not end up objecting. And 4 people died on Capitol grounds yesterday. Police say 1 was shot and the other 3 had medical emergencies. And 52 people were arrested after protesters stormed the building. Here are the details.
Chaos in the Capitol building on Wednesday. Eyewitness footage shows police trying to treat a woman who was shot but later died. Family members identified her as Ashley Babbitt, an Air Force vet from California and Trump supporter. Babbitt's husband told KUSI-TV she did 4 tours of duty during her 14 years of service. The day before she was shot, she tweeted, "Nothing will stop us. They can try and try and try, but the storm is here and it is descending upon D.C. in less than 24 hours, dark to light." It's not clear who shot her, but law enforcement sources told the New York Post it was Capitol Police. An eyewitness says, although some of the officers did not want a physical confrontation, some other officers were trying to agitate the protesters.
From another side of the glass, we hadn't even breached that area yet. The gunshot came through. We thought it was a smoke grenade. Hit her right in the neck. She dropped right in front of us. She was not doing anything that would warrant her being shot.
DC police say 3 other adults died from separate medical emergencies, and at least 14 officers were injured. Protesters stormed the Capitol building around 2:15 p.m. after breaking windows to get inside. It's not clear who instigated the breach. But Congressman Matt Gaetz says there's evidence some of the protesters were from Antifa.
And I don't know if the reports are true, but the Washington Times has just reported some pretty compelling evidence from a facial recognition company showing that some of the people who breached the Capitol today were not Trump supporters. They were masquerading as Trump supporters and, in fact, were members of the violent terrorist group Antifa.
Epoch Times reporter Joshua Phillip was at the rally and tweeted, "Lots of claims that agitators were behaving strangely and concerns they were there to subvert the protest. Many protesters called them traitors." DC police arrested 52 people as of Wednesday evening, 5 for weapons, the rest for violating the mayor's 6 p.m. curfew. They also recovered 2 pipe bombs, one from the DNC and one from the RNC. DC Mayor Muriel Bowser extended the public emergency for 15 days until January 21st after inauguration.
Lawmakers are questioning how protesters were able to gain access to the U.S. Capitol. They're saying they'll look into the actions of U.S. Capitol Police. Congressman Tim Ryan says people are going to lose their jobs over this. He says police should have arrested people.
Cardio burns fat, right? No. Cardio actually burns calories.
As soon as they started walking up the Capitol steps. Ryan said the investigation would look into video footage that appears to show Capitol Police opening barriers to let protesters stream through. Senator Brian Schatz from Hawaii called for a total overhaul of Capitol security. Former Capitol Police Chief Terry Gaynor told NPR that the security plan for the day had clearly failed. The Trump campaign's legal advisor, Jenna Ellis, stated that she's deeply disappointed with Vice President Mike Pence after he refused to reject disputed electoral votes in yesterday's joint session of Congress.
The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Joseph R. Biden, Jr. of the state of Delaware has received 306 votes. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 232 votes.
There had been much debate over Pence's role as the presiding officer prior to the joint session of Congress. In the end, Pence went against the wishes of President Trump and his allies. They had hoped the VP would reject the slate of electors for contested states. In a letter earlier on Wednesday, Pence wrote, "It is the people's representatives who review the evidence and resolve disputes through democratic process." He said he supported lawmakers making objections during the electoral vote count, but said he believes the Constitution constrains him from deciding which slates of electors should be used. Jenna Ellis, who's represented the Trump's election challenge campaign, said they had worked so hard to provide Pence with a constitutional solution to this. She had previously said that rather than choose the slate of electors himself, Pence could ask legislatures in the 6 disputed states which they believe should be selected. She had also said he could delay certification to allow further investigation into election irregularities. President Trump responded to Pence's remarks, saying Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution.
Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat temporarily locked President Trump's social media accounts on Wednesday. That's as tech giants cracked down on his claims of mass election fraud amid chaos in the Capitol. Twitter hid and ordered the removal of 3 of Trump's tweets, calling the move, quote, a result of the unprecedented and ongoing violent situation in Washington, D.C. Twitter says Trump's account will remain locked unless he deletes several tweets and a video alleging election fraud. Facebook and YouTube, owned by Google, also removed the video. Facebook later said it would block Trump from posting for at least the rest of his term. The company said in a blog post that it would ban calls to bring weapons to locations across the country and would remove any support for the events at the Capitol. Biden responded to yesterday's protests at the Capitol. He called them an assault on the rule of law, saying it borders on sedition.
Biden referred to violent protesters as a small number of extremists dedicated to lawlessness. He referred to their actions as unprecedented.
Our democracy is under an unprecedented assault, unlike anything we've seen in modern times. An assault on the citadel of liberty.
He said that the words of a president matter, pointing out they can both incite and inspire.
I call on President Trump to go on national television now to fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution and demand an end to this siege.
Biden concluded by thanking law enforcement officers at the Capitol.
President-elect Joe Biden announces his nomination for Attorney General. The nominee was once nominated by Barack Obama to the Supreme Court. Biden's team describes 68-year-old Merrick Garland as a Department of Justice veteran and an independent jurist. Garland currently serves as the judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit. Biden also announced Lisa Monaco as nominee for Deputy Attorney General, Vanita Gupta as nominee for Associate Attorney General, and Kristen Clark as nominee for Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division. Garland must receive a majority of votes in the Senate to be confirmed. The current Senate Judiciary Chairman, Lindsey Graham, indicated in a statement that he'd support Garland's nomination. And most all ballots are counted for Georgia's Senate runoffs, with only thousands of military ballots outstanding, and they will continue counting any of those ballots until Friday. As it now stands, both Democrats John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock have taken the lead. Republican challenger Senator David Perdue says he plans to challenge the results. A message from Perdue's campaign says this is an exceptionally close election that will require time and transparency to be certain the results are fair, and that they will exhaust every legal resource to ensure election integrity. On election night, Perdue was leading Ossoff by nearly 90,000 votes, but now it appears Ossoff has flipped that lead to his favor. The margin between the two candidates is razor thin, so it's likely a recount will happen in Georgia. And that's all for now. Catch us again tonight.
I spent 25 years researching men living to 110 or 120. I discovered one food that these men who are 110 or 120 years old are eating. One food I believe is responsible for their incredible long life. Stanislaw Kowalski still runs races. He's 110 years old. Orville Rogers, who is 99, runs marathons. Magomed is 121 years old, still grows and eats his own food. These men all eat this one food, even though the so-called experts will tell you it's bad for you. Remember Yul Gibbons, the outdoors fanatic made famous in the cereal commercials? Gibbons avoided this one food. He died at age 64. Nathan Pritikin, one of the most famous health food experts ever. He avoided this one food. He died at age 69. And Dr. Robert Atkins, author of the all-time best-selling diet book, avoided this one food. Sadly, Dr. Atkins died at a relatively young 72. So, who would you rather copy? Men like Stanislaw Kowalski running races at 110 years old, or Orville Rogers, who is 99 running marathons, Magomed at 121 years old, still growing and eating his own food? Or these men who died young despite being supposed experts? If you want to live to 120 like I believe I'm doing, you need to choose. Listen to these experts or do what these very healthy men are doing at 110 or 120 years old. My name is Matt Cook. I have over 350,000 subscribers to my longevity newsletter. I'm an Amazon author and was originally interviewed by ABC News. I had so many men ask me for my notes, my research on how to live to age 120 that I managed to put all my notes and discoveries into a book I'm calling Healthy to 120. And I got a small quantity printed up so that I'm giving them away for free today. My book shows you how you might live a lot longer by doing the opposite of everything you've been told about what's supposedly healthy, what's supposedly good for you. So you can buy Healthy to 120 for $29.95 on Amazon, or you can click the link and get it free today. Just go ahead, click on the link, and claim your copy. It's a physical book I'm mailing to your home, but sadly I only was able to afford to print a small quantity of books, so when they're gone, I don't know if I will be able to print more. So please get it right now. If you really would like to try to live life until age 120 with a happy and healthy physical and spiritual life, click on the link. Get my book for free today. All I'm asking is for guys to help me out with the shipping and handling if they can. And if you want to learn more, here's what's in my book. In my book, I'm showing men how I discovered the key to supporting a healthy prostate. That's on page 101. I found what works for me to naturally maintain 110/80 blood pressure consistently without pills. Page 139. When a family member had to go on blood thinners, I found this alternative. The doctor was very happy with it, and you may find it helpful to ask your doctor about. Page 180. After friends seemed to suffer very severe side effects from cholesterol medications, I began looking for natural alternatives, and I found them. The doctor told me, You don't need to take these pills anymore. And this is what I've been doing. Page 162. Having good high male hormone levels is helpful to men. Here's a story of how I raised my male hormone levels.
At 6:30 Eastern, I'm Kevin Hogan.